Hey everyone! So over the last two videos, we've learned how to make a simple paint application like this using mouse dragged and using line. Now let's learn how we can create simple buttons on the screen so that a user can maybe choose the color that they want to paint with. First, let's think, what is a button? It's a place that we click on, and when we click on that specific area, something happens. In our case, the color of our paintbrush changes, or the color of the stroke of the line changes. That means that the first thing we need is an area to actually click on. So let's go ahead and let's draw a rectangle on the top left corner here, and let's make it black. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle in the top left. So that means it will start at 0, 0, and I'm going to give it a width and a height of 40. And I want to make it black, so let's give it a fill 0, 0, 0. Let's see. Okay, so there we have a button. Next, we want to check if someone has clicked in that area where the button is. Now if you remember the mouse pressed function, it will run only when there is a click. So let's write this function over here at the bottom. So function mouse pressed. Again, whatever is inside this will run only when the mouse is pressed. So that means when someone does click on the canvas, we can check if they have clicked inside this black area. And to do that, we can essentially check if the mouse X and mouse Y values are within this area when somebody has clicked on the canvas. So now for the mouse to be in this area, its mouse X value has to be greater than 0, less than 40. Similarly, mouse Y also has to be greater than 0 and less than 40. So we can say if mouse X is greater than 0 and mouse X is less than 40 and mouse Y is greater than 0 and mouse Y is less than 40. This will be satisfied only if we click inside that black box. Now inside this condition over here, let's just add a simple statement that will print black button clicked when we click on this area over here. So we can do that by saying print black button clicked. So whenever we say print, open brackets and type something in quotes, it will print over here in the console in the bottom left. So let's see how that works. So I'm just going to go over here and click, and it said black button clicked. If I click anywhere else, it won't say that, but when I click here again, it'll say black button clicked. Perfect. Now we have a working button and we can draw. But if you notice that when we're drawing, the stroke gets added over here because we haven't set a specific stroke for the rectangle. So maybe let's just say no stroke before drawing the rectangle. So if we click, it says black button clicked, and if we move, we can draw. Perfect. Now we have a button and we can press on the button, so it works. Now all that is left to do is change the color of the stroke of this line when we press the button. That is, change the color of the paintbrush. To do this, we have to first store the color of the brush in the variable. So let's first define a variable called brush. So I'm going to say let brush, and in setup we have to do the initialization. So I'm just going to say brush equals color 25500 so that we can initialize it to red. Now notice how we initialize a color value over here. For numbers, we've just been typing numbers till now, but when it's a color, we have to say color, open brackets, and inside put the value, and this is red, so I'm putting 25500. And then what we'll do is inside mouse dragged, instead of saying stroke 25500, I'll just say stroke brush. So let's see if this works. Again, remember to test at every point so that if something goes wrong, we'll know. So perfect, this is still drawing a red line, which is what we wanted. So if we had maybe changed this to 02550, we would have gotten a green line. Perfect. Now let's switch it back to red. Okay. And what we can do is, now inside the mouse pressed, instead of saying print black button clicked, we can change the value of the variable brush. So we can say brush equals color 0, 0, 0. And because it's a black button, we're just changing the brush color to black as well. Press play. So it's drawing in red now. And once I press this button, it'll start drawing in black. Perfect. But right now we have no way of going back to red. So let's add one more button right below this over here so that we can also choose red color. So remember comments, we're going to be using them so that we know which part of the code is meant for what. I'm going to say black button here, and then below I'm going to write the code for red button. We don't want to change the stroke value. We still want it to be no stroke right now. So we can just directly go to the fill, to make fill 25500, and draw the rectangle below the black one. So that means the X value will be the same, but the Y value will be 40. The width and height will be same. Great. We have two buttons now. It's drawing in red. When I press, it draws in black. Perfect. Now what we have to do is we have to check, did anyone press inside the red button? To do this, we can go to mouse pressed and add an else if condition that basically checks if the mouse X value is greater than 0 and less than 40, and the mouse Y is greater than 40 and less than 80. So I'm just going to copy over this code over here. Mouse X conditions stay the same, just mouse Y will change from greater than 40 and less than 80. And if someone does press here, I want to change the brush color back to red. So brush equals color 25500, which is red. Okay, so when I start, it's drawing in red. And then I'm going to click on the black button. It's drawing in black. And I'm going to click on red again. And it's drawing in red. Perfect. Now we request you to practice this and try adding at least 2 other colors, maybe 2 more buttons, to get the hang of this. You can also use these buttons to do other things, like change the thickness of the line that you're drawing. So maybe when you press one button, the thickness is very small. When you press another button, it gets really thick, like it has a stroke weight of 20 or 30. So let's make another set of buttons over here in the bottom left. And let's make a small one and a larger one. So maybe when we press the small one, the thickness can be 10 as it is now. And the thickness can increase up to 30 when we press the larger one. Now, first things first, let's just draw the buttons. They won't actually do anything now, but let's just draw them. I'm going to say small button. Let both of these buttons maybe be white with a black outline. So I'm going to say fill 255, 255, 255, and give it a stroke of black with a stroke weight of 2. And I'm going to draw a rectangle in the bottom left over here. So that means its X value will be 0 and its Y will be around 360. Let the width be small, so 20, and the height be 40. So let's have a look. So there we have a small button. Now let's draw a large button. So I don't want to change the stroke or the stroke weight or the fill from the previous time, just the size. So I'm directly just going to draw a rectangle at, now X will be a little more to the right, so maybe 30. Y value will be the same, and I'm going to increase the width to 40 because this is a larger button. So the previous one was 20 width, this is 40 width. So there we have our 2 buttons. Then what we'll do is, in mouse dragged, we're currently saying stroke weight as 10. Let's go ahead and create a variable for this so that when the button is pressed, the value of this variable can change, just like it did for brush. So I'm going to call this variable thickness. And since the stroke weight is just a plain number, we can initialize it easily by saying thickness equals 10. And let's put it in here to test that everything is working normally now. So it's drawing of thickness 10. Okay, and pressing these buttons is really doing nothing right now, which is expected. So now we can continue on to mouse pressed, where it checks if a mouse has been clicked. and we'll check if the clicking was inside our button area. So I'm going to copy over these values over here and change them so that they are correct for the small button. So for the small button, the X value goes from 0 to 20. So that's 0 to 20. And the Y value goes from 360 to 400. So we have to change this to 360 and 400. Since this is the small button, when it is pressed, the thickness will be equal to 10. And let's just copy it over for the larger button again. The Y value of the larger button is the same because it is to the right of this, but the X value changes. The X goes from 30 to 70. And when this is pressed, let's make the thickness 30. Perfect. So let's see if this works. I want to draw a black line, okay, and I want to make it thick. There we go. We have a thick line and we have a thin line now. So you can actually do a lot of variations like this, where you can maybe create buttons to change the color. You can create buttons to change the size. You can also create buttons to change the shape itself. So maybe you're drawing with rectangles and not lines like in this case. And if you click a button, it draws with an ellipse and not a rectangle. If you click another button, maybe it draws triangles. So there's a lot that you can try out with this and play around with. So definitely have fun while doing this, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.